In Stavropol, a once bustling factory, Optron Stavropol, has gone silent, marking a strategic blow to Russia's war machine. This facility was a vital supplier of advanced electronics for the Russian military, and its abrupt closure in 2025 exposed a vulnerability the Kremlin tried to hide. Years of mounting debt, worsened by state policies, led to its downfall. An internal memo announced the end: operations unsustainable, workforce laid off, gates locked. The shutdown reveals the fragile foundation of Russia's military-industrial complex, far weaker than official propaganda claims. Optron Stavropol's electronics powered Russia's most advanced weaponry. Without them, production halts and maintenance becomes a nightmare. This is a direct hit to Russia's ability to sustain military operations, a crisis unfolding far from the front lines but with battlefield consequences. The collapse is rooted in systemic flaws, state demands clashing with economic reality, and international sanctions tightening the noose. Optron Stavropol's fall is a case study in the hollowing out of Russia's industrial base, accelerated by the costs of prolonged war. This is not just corporate failure, it's a symptom of a deeper illness threatening Putin's war machine. To grasp the impact of Optron Stavropol's shutdown, consider what it made: the brains and nerves of Russia's military hardware. The factory produced flight control electronics for fighter jets like the Su-35 and Su-57, enabling their advanced maneuvers and systems. It built guidance systems for missiles. Without these, Russia's arsenal loses accuracy and effectiveness. Secure communications modules were another specialty, ensuring encrypted orders and intelligence on the battlefield. The loss of this capacity means Russia may have to rely on outdated, vulnerable communication gear, giving adversaries an edge. Optron Stavropol also supplied advanced radar detection components essential for early warning and air defense. Without domestic production, gaps appear in Russia's defensive shield. The silence at Stavropol echoes across the military, from fighter cockpits to command bunkers. Each missing component weakens Russia's ability to fight, communicate, and defend. The factory's closure is a blow felt throughout the armed forces. It's a vulnerability that adversaries will notice. Optron Stavropol's collapse was a slow-motion disaster, fueled by nearly a decade of mounting debt, over 2 billion rubles. Losses piled up, creditors sued, and by 2025, state bailiffs seized the company's assets. The factory's financial statements had long signaled trouble, with massive losses and frozen accounts. Despite warnings as early as 2016, the government failed to intervene effectively. Investigations found no corruption, just relentless economic pressure and a broken business model. The state's focus on war production came at the expense of its own suppliers' survival. Optron Stavropol's demise is a warning. Even vital national security assets can be lost to neglect and dysfunction. The government's inability or unwillingness to support key industries is a critical weakness. This is not just a business failure, it's a systemic flaw in Russia's war economy. The story is a cautionary tale for any nation waging a prolonged, resource-draining conflict. Optron Stavropol's ruin was driven by a paradox. The state, its main customer, set prices below production costs. Forced to sell at a loss, the factory bled money with every order, an unsustainable model. For example, the Ministry of Defense paid 2,600 rubles for a diode that cost 3,600 to make, multiplied across thousands of units. Chronic payment delays compounded the crisis, leaving millions owed for delivered goods. The factory couldn't pay suppliers, invest, or even meet payroll. This state-enforced deficit was a slow bleed, pushing the company deeper into debt. The Kremlin's drive for cheap output cannibalized its own industrial base. The collapse of Optron Stavropol is the direct result of this short-sighted policy. You can't defy economic reality forever. Eventually, the system breaks. By squeezing suppliers, Russia is dismantling the foundation of its military ambitions. International sanctions after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine hit Optron Stavropol hard, cutting off access to Western technology. The factory relied on imported microchips and precision tools. When sanctions hit, operations faltered. Forced to use outdated stockpiles or smuggled parts, quality and reliability plummeted. Smuggling was expensive, slow, and risky, with components often subpar. Production delays and rising costs accelerated the factory's decline. Sanctions degraded Russian military technology from within, making already tough financial problems impossible to overcome. The West's economic war exposed Russia's dependence on foreign tech. Optron Stavropol's story proves sanctions are eroding Russia's war machine. The impact is slow but corrosive and increasingly visible. The shutdown of Optron Stavropol has immediate dangerous consequences for Russia's military. Maintenance and repair of complex hardware, jets and missiles, will suffer as spare parts run out. Even a single missing module can ground an aircraft, reducing operational readiness. Cannibalizing parts from other machines is a stopgap, but it shrinks the available fleet. Missile accuracy will decline as guidance systems become scarce or outdated. Using lower quality components risks more collateral damage and civilian casualties. Morale among pilots and technicians will erode as equipment reliability drops. The knowledge that their industrial base is faltering undermines confidence and effectiveness. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a direct threat to combat capability. The battlefield will feel the effects of this industrial collapse. Optron Stavropol's failure is part of a wider crisis in Russia's defense sector. The war in Ukraine has pushed the system to its limits, exposing years of underinvestment and reliance on outdated methods. Factories run non-stop, straining old machinery and infrastructure. Sanctions have cut off modern tools, forcing reliance on what's left. The rush to supply the front lines is sacrificing long-term industrial health. Shortages and bottlenecks now affect everything from electronics to artillery shells. State-mandated low prices and payment delays are crippling other manufacturers too. The system is brittle. One collapse can trigger many more. Russia's war machine is running on fumes and the cracks are spreading. The crisis isn't just financial or technical, it's human. Optron Stavropol's closure left its workforce jobless. But the bigger problem is a brain drain. Skilled engineers and technicians are leaving Russia seeking stability and opportunity elsewhere. Years of expertise are walking out the door, and replacements are hard to find. Those who remain face low morale, outdated equipment, and constant pressure. The Kremlin's incentives can't offset the loss of freedom or the burden of war. The shrinking, demoralized workforce is perhaps the greatest long-term threat to Russia's military future. Optron Stavropol's demise is a symbol of the rot within Russia's war machine. Its closure exposes a military-industrial complex that's technologically dependent, financially unstable, and organizationally flawed. The factory's failure highlights the devastating impact of Western sanctions, and the unsustainable reliance on smuggling and outdated stockpiles. State policies that force suppliers to sell at a loss are cannibalizing the industrial base. The result: delays, grounded aircraft, unreliable missiles, and eroding innovation. Russia is burning through its Soviet-era inheritance at an alarming rate. The silent factory in Stavropol tells a loud story, a system under unbearable stress. Russia's military power is not immune to economic laws or global realities. Optron Stavropol's fall is a warning. The Russian war machine is developing deep, potentially fatal cracks. Wars are won on the battlefield and the factory floor, and on that front, Russia is faltering.